Excuse me.
Hey everyone, it's Jerry at the Fledge. Welcome to another episode of Every Damn Day. Today on the show, we have our friend Matt Thornton. How are you today, Matt?
I'm good. Every damn day. It's good to be a Friday.
Yeah, it is good to be a Friday. Thanks for being on the show.
Appreciate you having me.
I'm really excited to talk to you about this because I'm sure that when people see insurance and things like that, they're thinking, what is this going to be about? And I know that you're going to bring to the table, and I'm putting tons of pressure on you, by the way, but I know you're bringing to the table an A game here about why. Well, I'm going to let you start talking about that. So first question is, tell us something about you and tell us something about your project.
Okay. Well, my name is Matt Thornton. I am owner of Matt Thornton Agency with Farm Bureau Insurance of Michigan. I've been in the insurance industry about 6 years. I love people. I love connecting with people. I love having conversations and figuring out and solving problems and, figuring out solutions and helping people figure that out. And if I wasn't doing it through insurance, it'd be some other way that I'd be able to connect with people and being able to help, solve problems, educate, and do that. Like I've been learning that more and more recently during the pandemic. It's not about just insurance. It's about connecting with people and figuring out, figuring out how you connect and how you can make things happen.
Yeah. So I'll ask you more questions, but
yeah,
where are you from? Where were you born?
Originally, I was born. So my family's from Chicago. I was born in Chicago, and then I moved to Lawton, Michigan, 4 days old in a snowstorm. And then I grew up in Lawton, Michigan, and it was interesting. I ended up leaving there my freshman year, and then I finished my high school in Portage Northern, graduated in 2003, and then lived in Kalamazoo for a while, and then moved to Detroit for a year and a half because I fell in love with working on hip hop music. So I wanted to learn more about music, figure out how to promote. So why not Detroit? You've got Motown, you've got 97.9, you've got great music history there. I had a girlfriend at the point that was going to Wayne State there too, so that helped a little bit. But went out there, got an internship. Yeah, right. Yeah, that was part of it. It was definitely lots of layers there. There was layers. But I ended up getting an internship at 97.9, and it was while the Super Bowl was in Detroit, so it was a lot going on in that year. So I turned 21 and was working on music myself. And so I learned a lot from that experience. The year and a half I was in Detroit, not only just from a business standpoint and a hustle standpoint, but just life, being able to, again, connect with different people and just learning from those experiences.
I have a couple of friends that graduated from Portage Northern that were wrestlers with me. One in particular, I wrestled every freaking day in 1987, and he whooped my butt because he was way bigger than me. But we won't go down that route. So hip hop and JLB, man, I in the 70s, I used to bootleg my cable radio. So we bought this thing from Radio Shack and hooked it up to the radio, and then I'd get 107.1. I can't remember the call letters, but that's where I got my starting rap and starting hip hop and all of that. But that was in 77, 78, somewhere around.
I worked at Radio Shack for a little bit too. That's another thing I've had. I've worked everywhere. I've had a little bit of every job. So Radio Shack was one of them.
What'd you do 6 years ago before?
I was working in jewelry. Actually, I worked in jewelry and property management. So my wife had a property management company that I helped out with marketing. We first got together, and then we ended up working for another property management company. And while I was doing that, I started going back into working at a jewelry store, Fred Meyer Jewelers in Meridian Mall. And I sold an engagement ring to a guy. He was a State Farm trainer. Started talking, and we built a relationship. Started playing basketball, and he started his own agency. And he asked me to be his first employee. So I got in, trained, learned how to figure that out. Was there for 2 years. Ended up, we made it the top 100 agency out of the first 2 years that he was open. And then I ended up transferring to another agent, State Farm agent, for another 6 months. And then I think I had enough because my ultimate goal was to have my own agency. And with the State Farm process, it just felt like it was taking longer than I wanted it to, because my ultimate goal was to have an agency within 3 years, or at least start that true goal, the process of opening it up. And I felt like it was going to take longer with State Farm. So I looked around a little bit, and I ended up connecting with Farm Bureau, and they offered me a great opportunity. And a little over 2.5 years later, we're here now. So
that's awesome. When we were preparing and talking a little bit, I know that you have some passions around insurance, and I think, there's different views of insurance. There's the big insurance companies that are in Lansing that, are part of an important part of our ecosystem and our local economy because they hire so many or employ so many people. And then there's the agencies like what you're doing. And, I think some people look at it as like a casino, and I don't need insurance, or some people look at it like, just something you have to do. I don't think you look at it in these ways. How do you look at insurance? Why is insurance so important outside of the fact that the government says we have to have it for our car or what have you?
For your house and things like that. I mean, just on average, people don't have the liquid assets to be able, like, all right, if you had a terrible car accident, you got hurt in a car accident, and you end up getting paralyzed, worst case scenario, knock on wood, something like that were to happen, do you have like hundreds of thousands of dollars just to come out of pocket to be able to cover those things?
Right.
Does, like, with in regards to life insurance, on top of having to deal with losing somebody that you love, but then having to deal with having to put together the finances to put together the funeral, and then after you die, there's taxes, you have estate taxes, probate, all of these different things, because once you die, there's still things that have to happen. And then you're leaving somebody that's mourning, like, okay, I have to handle all this money stuff. And you can do that with life insurance. And then there's different vehicles that you can use depending on what you want to do. You can customize that plan for yourself. And then another thing with life insurance, I don't know how many times I've heard it, but talking to people of color, they're like, oh, that's for rich white folks. And that's, farthest from the truth. If anything, the less you have, the more you should set up something, at least have something in place, at least for, burial, to build a legacy for your family. Instead of like leaving, oh, I've got to pay thousands of dollars for this, and I've got to make sure that this is set up on top, so.
Yeah, we talked about estate planning on the show last week with Nick Laydorf, and we talked about that a little bit, but we never touched on insurance. We were just kind of like getting the basics in place. Right. What should someone do? What if I feel like I can't even pay my rent? How am I going to pay for life insurance? What should I do? How do I get something started? How do I move just a little bit?
I mean, just start with having a conversation. Reach out to somebody that's got the expertise. Reach out to your insurance advisor. Reach out to a financial planner. Reach out to a family member that might already have these things set up to start. And be like, hey, where did you start? And just build from there. But having something is better than nothing. I mean, even having something through work. And it's a benefit through work. So, of course, if you change your jobs or if they change the benefit package, which, companies do, that leaves you without life insurance. But at least it's something that you have in place there.
So is it something like you can get into for like $5 a month, even if it was just, I'm 20 years old and I just want to pay for my funeral or something? I mean, that's really morbid, but. Right.
No, totally. I mean, it's, people don't want to talk about it, but death is a part of life, so looking at it holistically, it is what it is. We're all got to go sometime. So, just try to making it as easy as possible for yourself and for the people that you care about. But yeah, you can, depending on the company that you're looking at, depending on what type of policy in your plan, you can find things that are expensive. And the younger you get it, the least expensive it is, because the older you are, the more likely you're going to die. So it gets pricier.
Yeah. How can I, if I was talking to a group of young men or young Black men or something, how could what's the message that I should really be trying to do to connect with them? Or do I just get you and you connect with them?
We can do it either way, like you can have a conversation with them, and then I'd love to be a part of the conversation, because it's about building. It's about having a legacy. It's about stacking on top of what we already have in place. Like, we've made progress, there's progress being made every day, but you got to continue to build on it and just not wait until, oh shit, I got to do something now. That's a lot of people want to procrastinate and not think about it, push it to the back burner, because nobody wants to talk about death. Nobody wants to think about, oh, I hope I get in a car accident, or nobody wants to think about these things, but that's what insurance is there for, Yeah. Chris Rock said it best, in case shit happens.
Yeah. We were talking about generational wealth and equity. You think we need to define that real quick for people? Because sometimes they don't always know the difference between equality and equity. Yeah. You want to do it, or you want me to do it?
Let's have you do it. We can both do it together. Let's do it together.
All right. Let's do it together. Because I always get to talk. I like to listen.
So generational wealth is, being able to pass on a legacy, being able to pass on something like my house, like we own our house, like being able to pass that on as an asset to your family to be able to build on that again. So instead of starting down in a hole where like, okay, now I'm coming out thousands of dollars to pay for a funeral, coming out for, probate, coming out for taxes, all these different things that have to happen when somebody dies, you're building on it instead of like, all right, starting somebody in a hole. That's what generational wealth is to me, trying to build on something like instead of starting from scratch, where a lot of families do that, where again, like they're struggling with rent, struggling with things in front of them now, and they're not thinking about what's next. And it's tough.
Yeah, it's and I you talk about that, and we'll get back to equity a little bit in a second, but that thing where it's tough, where you're thinking about rent, you don't have that kind of backup that gives you that resiliency. What I think people don't realize is when you got like kids and you're in that day to day, that paycheck to paycheck, psychologically, your mind shuts off your visioning, your ability to think 5 years out. And that, therefore, it takes away hope from you. It takes away your ability to have a long-term strategy and plan, because it's that day to day. And not having that equity or that generational wealth does that to people again and again and again, and just keeps you from being able to get further ahead. I love the way you're thinking about this and the mindset you're putting this in. Your turn.
Thank you. And then are we talking equality or are we talking equity still?
Well, I was talking equity. I mean, we can, yeah. If we we can go to equality too. Yeah. Because they're both suffering, especially, I mean, there's systemic racism, period. People can argue all they want, but I'm a mathematician, so if they want to try to change the basics of math, that's fine with me. But I see it in the numbers for sure, and I'm sure you see it in the day to day. You
Absolutely.
feel it.
Yeah, definitely.
You live it.
Yeah, and live it, and like we were talked a little bit about before, a lot of it has to do with it is mindset. Like the way that I grew up, the way that I think, the way that like I know that the 8 ball, like I'm behind the 8 ball sometimes in my life, but I'm not going to allow that to define me. I'm not going to allow that to hold me back from what I want to do. And I'm not going to allow somebody or something, whether that be a person or systemic racism, from trying to stop me, because I'm going to just try to continue to do me and better my community and better what I can around me.
Yeah. So I love it. I love it. So right now I'm going to ask you, what's something you do every damn day to kind of push that needle forward, to make that mission happen?
I read a little bit. I read a lot. Listen to a book, read a book. A lot of it right now is with mindset, focus. I just got done with Shannon Lee, Bruce Lee's daughter's new book, Be Water, My Friend, which is, about just encompassing that balance. Like, part of it's not like this is one thing, like here's life, here's death, or here's red and here's blue. It's like it's all part of the same thing. We just can't, you got to look at it that way versus like, all right, well, they're complete polar opposites of each other. It's all part of the same system. It's all part of that same ecosystem, so.
Yeah, there's very few things in life that are really that true binary. Probably nothing, actually. Even computing is getting into quantum computing, where there's this fuzziness.
Right. There's always going to be something connecting, like whether we want to see it or not. Like whatever you're looking at, everything has like a balance. Like how my job works. Like if I'm helping somebody out with a homeowner's policy, first it starts out with the realtor, starts out with the loan officer. There's a step to the process. There's always going to be a connection, whether we don't want to see it or not.
Yeah. So yesterday I had a performing artist, Sarah Wallace. She's a classically trained singer and painter, and she's doing a CD release. And I was telling her that, she has a question for you, but I wanted to tell her a little bit about you. And like, you're not the typical insurance agent guy that you might think somebody is, right? You're creative. What you were doing with hip hop in Detroit and all of that. You're creative. You're an entrepreneur. You talk about solving problems, not writing policies and things like that. So you have this real creative entrepreneurial spirit. And she got to wondering, is there something, would you rather be doing the music or some artistic thing, or do you like what you're doing and are you right where you sort of want to be?
I love what I'm doing, and I am where I am supposed to be. Like I feel like with business, with me being an insurance agent, it doesn't define who I am. You know, like it's something I do. And when I say something, I mean I do a lot of things. Like I'm a husband, I'm a father, I'm a gardener now, you know, like
All
I'm
right.
I'm learning all these different things and like and want to be all these different things. So no, I mean, I've got other dreams of other businesses that I'd like to be a part of in the future. I've got, you know, so I wouldn't want to stop doing this now because again, I've made some great friendships, lifelong friendships from being an insurance agent, from being where I'm at now. And I wouldn't want to change that for anything.
You know, they often say that connection is the opposite of everything. Like connection's the opposite of addiction, or connection can be the opposite of depression and all of that. And I love your take on connection, like how you're trying to build those connections with everybody, and especially, you know, helping the Black community with equity and generational wealth. It just seems like you got a lot of passion behind what you're doing. Did you think that when that guy was buying that ring from you?
No, not at all, man. Not at all. Like, and again, I've been in sales a long time. And at first, like when I was younger, I've been selling stuff my whole life. Like I used to be the kid, I used to have to borrow a quarter from my mom, like if I wanted to get a gumball. So like, all right, well, you're going to go get that quarter back and get the money back for it. It's like, all right. So I would hustle. Like I'd find odd jobs to do around the apartment complex that I lived at, or I would sell my old toys or sell basketball cards, X-Men cards or something like that. So like I've sold dog treats, I've sold aluminum signs, I've sold cell phones. So it's again, like it's about connecting. All of it was with connecting with people. And like when I was younger, it was like, oh, well, I'm able to convince somebody to do something. Yeah. And it's like, you're not convincing anybody to do shit they don't want to do. Like it was one way or shape or form, like you're just helping with, they're telling like if you're listening anyway. And a lot of times with sales, it's more listening than talking. And that was something I had to develop over time. It's like, you got to shut up for a little bit and just, all right, absorb that. But yeah, it used to be about like, all right, I'm convincing this person to do this and that's what I'm doing. But now it's really about connecting and figuring out like, how can we connect? How can I help you solve this problem or protect what's important to you or do what you're looking to do?
Yeah. So tomorrow I got this skateboarder coming on and his name is Bo Kirby. Okay. And what question would you like to ask Bo? The skateboarder. The
scumbag. Like, did you expect, with what you're doing with skateboarding, is this where you wanted to be with skateboarding at this time?
And then I'm going to turn that question on you. Is this, and I don't know how big to make this question, is, you know, from an insurance agent perspective, is this where you expect it to be after 6 years, or as a father, a husband, a man? Is this where you expect it to be in your life? Answer whatever one you'd like.
I guess I'll say yes and no, because I've had setbacks in business and setbacks in life. You know, there was a slowdown. I wanted to be like, of course you dream. I wanted to be like, all right, I was going to have this $1 million agency by this time and I'm going to do this and I'm going to have this and well, you know, but every time you plan on something working out in a certain time frame, you get punched in the face. You know, everybody's got to plan until they get punched in the face.
And who said that?
Mike Tyson.
All right. It's one of my favorite quotes.
No, and it's the truest, man, especially being a business owner. Like as soon as you think like the first 6 months, I crushed it. Like I was doing everything that I needed to do. I felt I didn't hit exactly where I needed to hit, but I was like, all right, well, I got this. I'm making more money than I thought. And then I was like, all right, well, I can do this now with hiring. And I lost focus. You know, I wasn't focusing on the right things. And then my daughter got sick. My mom got sick all at the same time too. So on top of that, dealing with personal stuff. And, you know, again, that was a couple punches in the face. And it took about a year, a little over a year still, of course, you know, catching up and getting back in. But as long as you're doing it every damn day and you're trying to drag it a little bit, you'll get back to where you need to do.
Do you, so that was, would you say though that you're in a really good spot? Like, are you happy?
Oh, I'm very happy. Yes. I'm sorry. Yes. I'm very happy. I love being a family man. I love life. Love being with my family and hanging out. And as much as online school and everybody being under one roof during pandemic, I wouldn't want to be by myself. I wouldn't want it any other way. So
Luckily my kids are older now. They're 19 and 21.
Okay.
But my wife's a 5th grade teacher, and school is just difficult for everybody right now. I mean, I feel bad for you parents that have to be in there like that. We got this crazy election coming up, and you've been breathing every morning like me and trying to figure out
as much as possible, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just paying attention as much as possible. I listened to the first debate. It was,
it's unbelievable. I can't believe this is where we are, but yet I can believe this is where we are. I mean, I'm a protesting kid. I was born in the 60s. So, my parents were, anti-Vietnam. They were anti-war. They protested for that. They protested because we were so close to Detroit and what was happening in 68 and all of that. I come from a long line of people who protest for justice and rights and all of that. And I thought for sure when I was a little kid that as I grew up to be a man, all of this would be fixed. And I don't feel like it's changed. And
yeah, I mean, it's gotten, the needle's moving a little bit, but it's slow. It's slower than like my mom is, okay, so my mom is 77 and she'd be pissed if I actually said that, but she is. But like all this stuff, like she lived, like my grandmother was born in 1917, like she lived through the Depression. She saw part of the Depression. She saw these Jim Crow laws. Like this stuff is just, 2 generations away. Like that's only 40 years. Like people want to say like, I'm 35. It's not that long ago.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of the things that we're seeing, like people flaring up, people trying to get angry, and they're growing. A lot of it's growing pains. Like I think we're on the right direction. We keep pushing. We keep doing things that we're doing now. Like just calling people out on their BS. Like, no, that's not how history. That's what lack of a better term, whitewash of history. Like it's played down. It got watered down, and it's not the real story. And we need to. And I think this opportunity now, especially with my kids being home, I'm taking the opportunity to be like, oh, you heard this? Well, look at this part of it too. So like we need to step up and be able to be a part of the education process as parents and being home now. Like, yes, we're working, but that's the future.
That I do think that there's a lot of bad things about what's happening with schooling right now. Like when we first were looking at everything, we were like, we have to protect the mothers because a lot of times the burden's going to fall on the mother because maybe the man already makes like 28% more. So he can't quit his job. So she's got to quit hers to do the schooling. So it's going to set women back. And I just heard this morning that 850,000 women have had to leave the workplace because of this. So it's already having an impact, and it's going to have an impact that's going to ring for 10, 15, 20 years now. I lost track of what I was.
The job. Okay. I think I don't know, but let me see maybe where we're going with this. So
help me, save me.
We're both blessed, and like my wife works from home, and then me being self-employed. So I've got freedom, of course, with my schedule. So I take the morning shift with the online school, and then my wife takes the afternoon shift, and then we get up, like we've got dumb sleep schedules. Like, so we've got a team effort. We're very blessed that we've had the situation like how we have it. So, and not everybody has that, of course. And she doesn't have to leave her job because we're here. She's here. So, yeah. I like to think of it like I saw the quote or the meme before. It's like we're all in the same storm, but we're definitely in different boats. And
that's that quote I think is impactful, especially as you look at who's being impacted the most by the COVID, the frontline workers, now with school, now with unemployment. Who got hit the hardest, and it's definitely Black and brown and poor people,
without a doubt.
Hey, since we're here a little bit, because I love talking to you, because you make me happy. There's somebody comment, I think it's Omar.
Okay.
He said, what advice would you give towards young men trying to balance their professional movement and their family and their friends and all of this right now?
And try to balance it.
Yeah.
With your friend, make your circle tight, like with friends, make sure that you're looking, you've got to have your select few. Like, and as I've gotten older, like I have a lot of people that I equate with that I'm always going to be friendly with, but the people that are in my inner circle are my inner circle. And it's gotten tighter and tighter because you got to have people around you that are going to want to feed your desire, like you're going to have conversations with people about your dreams. And if those conversations are happening, like if you're not talking about business or you're not talking about things that you want to develop and grow in with these people, you got to move on. And the same thing with your family. I hate to say that, sometimes with family, they're going to be your biggest supporters, but they're also going to be sometimes, your biggest deters too, because they're going to see little Omar, little Matt, from when you were, 5, 10, 15, doing knucklehead stuff. And sometimes that lingers a little bit longer into adulthood. So you just have to make those choices. Sometimes it's okay to take a step back and reevaluate. Those breaks are sometimes the most important things. And I've been saying that a lot lately, because as soon as you start to get overwhelmed, you get something over your head and you're like, oh, you start looking at the big picture, like, oh, I've got this and I got this and I got this and whatever, personal and professional. You start taking bites, like carve up the elephant, just take it bite sizes and just take it piece by piece at a time. And don't expect it to happen in the time that you want it to happen, and expect it to happen when it's going to happen. Just keep working, do it every day.
I think that's probably good advice for how to kind of build your insurance portfolio, right? Kind of protect what you have to protect quickly, and then build up and do different things and get complicated and fancy later.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's about the basics. Like, you got to practice that same move 10,000 times, and then you can start branching off and doing more moves. Like I've done, I don't know how many auto insurance quotes, how many home insurance quotes, and I want to get into more, in the bigger things, like more rental policies and more business stuff, and more in-depth life policies, and being able to help with investments and stuff like that. But you got to walk before you can full on run.
Yeah.
So,
well, I think that's a good spot for a second while I do a little bit of business.
okay.
Just real quick business, please remember to subscribe to the Fledge's YouTube channel. Our next 99 Problems But a Pitch Ain't One is 3:00 on Sunday afternoon, and Every Damn Day airs every damn day at 2 p.m. So thanks for watching. Matt, you got anything you want to take us out on?
Have a great weekend. Love, peace, chicken grease. And if you got any questions about insurance, reach out to me, mthornton at fbinsmi.com, #MattInsuresMI, or that phone number right there.
Keep it on there for a sec. And Matt Insures MI is your hashtag, right?
Yep. And then the website.
All right. We'll get all of that in the links below too, everyone. So check out Matt. Go to him, especially as you're starting to build and think about insurance. It's not about a casino. It's not about all this other stuff. It's about protecting yourself, your family, and your generations ahead of you. So invest in your future. Thanks a lot, Matt.
No, I appreciate you having me. Thank you. It was great. Thank you again. See ya.
Yeah. Bye-bye.